There we go. We're on.
We're back. Hi, everybody.
Hi, guys.
I'm Nancy Nelson.
I'm Diane Iser, and we are back at Cup of Joe.
Hot.
Cup of Joe, and it's hot. She's got a cup of, actually got a cup of chamomile.
I got a cup of chamomile, yeah, because I had enough
chamomile.
And I noticed that when I can't speak correctly.
And I actually forgot my mug today. Shame on me. So I'm doing a little promo for Smart Water. Hopefully that'll rub off on this video. What do you think?
Maybe we'll get a sponsorship.
Yes, maybe some. You never know what will happen.
I have to just say, today has been such a day of Godsidence and being in the right place at the right time, and the universe, God, everything working in a really cool way. And I'm just kind of feeling blessed and overflowy and a little weepy and a little like all over the place. And I don't know if anybody out there is feeling the same crazy energy.
Well, all I'm feeling is quite excited because we moved into the new millennium.
We got a tripod!
I got a tripod, which means I have this cute little remote control that turns my phone on and off.
We used to just stack the phone on top of boxes.
So we're very excited.
We just catapulted like into the 20th century maybe, and maybe someday we'll be in the 21st.
So we are, you know, for some of our children, we've made them very proud today.
Thank you, TJ Maxx.
Yes, thank you.
Maybe a sponsorship.
That's right.
Got the tripod at TJ Maxx.
Oh my gosh, so we are here, and our subject matter today is going to be on another topic that is not always welcome to discuss, but it's going to be on the subject of judgment. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun.
So I want to read you real quick. This is, well, first of all, I'm a coach, I'm an author. I have to do my shameless plug. That's right. This is my book, Lessons from the Ledge, available on Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, and there's a second one in the works called More Lessons. So stay tuned.
There you go. And I'll do my little
do
7-second elevator thing.
Is that what it is?
I don't know. I've already seen 7 seconds. So anyway, I'm Diane Iser. I'm the owner of New Day Aging. I am a very passionate senior and patient advocate looking to embrace aging as positive change, and that's me.
Because we're all doing it.
Because we're all aging.
And none of us get out alive.
That's right.
All right, so today we're going to talk about judgment. In the past, we talked about fear, distraction, loss, and now we're talking about judgment. And I think all those things, you'll see that they all sort of intertwine, and you know, you can't, it's all knit together in who we are as human beings, and that's totally fine. It's totally fine, it's totally normal, it's totally... so the definition of judgment, according to Merriam-Webster, is the process of forming an opinion or evaluation by discerning and comparing. How many of us do that? You know, compare. Social media is built on comparing ourselves to other people, because my dinner doesn't look as nice as your dinner, and my kids don't have as cute outfit as your kids, and whatever. It's all, I heard something that said comparison is the thief of joy.
Absolutely. And let me put this question out to everyone out there. How many of you out there have been hurt by feeling judged, have lost their right to think and behave in ways that are true to who you are because you are severely judged by people, by society, by government, by whoever the entity is? So judgment, it really is a subject worth exploring, at least so that we get a better understanding of what it can do to people in a very negative way.
Well, and I think, too, it ties back into that, what are you afraid of? How many of you have not done something that you wanted to do or say something that you wanted to say because you were afraid of how someone might judge it? And so in that way, haven't we turned our personal power over to someone or something outside of ourselves to validate us and make us feel like we're either acceptable or not acceptable, etc.? I mean, I think that we've all, if we're really honest, have felt that. And my goal, I think I can speak for our goal of this, is to give you a tool or a group of tools to bring yourself into that present place, that when you start to feel judged by someone, or you start to feel like you're judging someone, that you can get off the hamster wheel of that, stop, be aware of that and say, why am I feeling the way I'm feeling?
And the first tool out of the toolbox is going to be self-awareness.
Yep.
Because without self-awareness, you can't do what Nancy just said.
Right.
You can't evaluate anything unless you are self-aware as to what is actually the stimuli coming into you, and then your response or reaction to it.
And I think that a big part of that self-awareness is keeping ourselves in the present.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that my therapist taught me that was incredibly helpful was to not forget to take a really deep breath. We don't realize as we go through our day, because breathing is just reflexive, that there are times when we really haven't taken a real good deep breath because we've been in stress or wherever we've been. And in so doing that, it's like you breathe yourself back into your body in that moment. And when you can do that, something happens in our brains that stops us from like being way ahead of ourselves, worrying about something in the future or beating ourselves up about something that happened in the past.
Present moment living.
Right. By breathing that back in and breathing ourselves into that moment in that place, I have found that to be unbelievably helpful in like the, okay, put the brakes on here, girlfriend, stop and think about where you're going with this, why you feel the need to do this, what's really going on within me, because we can't control anything outside of ourselves. We can only control the way we interpret and show up in situations. And
now, you just led right in. Hold on. She just led right in, and we don't rehearse this.
No, this is
so you just led right into the next issue to
You're watching the magic happen.
The magic
oh my
is
God,
happening.
this is so hot.
Is that we cannot control anything outside of ourselves. And the fallacy is that most people, when they are on automatic pilot, as we've talked about previously, and they're not self-aware, is a lot of people get caught up in the fact that instead of focusing on the present moment, bringing attention to what you do have control and say over, which is what goes on within you, that a lot of times we start judging and looking outside of us to make the difference. So,
which also plays into the distraction.
Exactly right. So instead of doing the work internally, God,
aren't we good?
We're good. At least we understand each other. But hopefully we convey that to you. So the bottom line is, when you're not self-aware, you tend to be distracted, you don't do your work, and you start to look outside of you to judge a situation or a person and come up with the answer that isn't internally here where you have say, but it's with someone else. And then that opens us up to being the judge. We might have been judged by someone. We have every right. By the way, when you are judged by someone, don't ever confuse that with, a lot of people say, well, if someone judges me first, then I have the right to judge them back. No, what you do have the right is, you have the right to correct the individual who's judging you and let them know that what they are doing isn't right.
Or you have the right to say, I don't give a shit, and
absolutely. Oh, no, absolutely. Whatever.
Judge is going to judge. Whatever.
Exactly right. Because again, when
it's
you
about
do,
them.
when
that's
you do,
about them,
right,
and not about us. But we, because of our egos, like to take things personally instead of saying, "This is serving that person who's doing that in some way." I'm not going to get involved in that or allow it to have power.
Right. If you can be where Nancy's at, which takes work. We have to do our work to do that sometimes. But let's say you're having a day where you're taking something personal,
right,
and you get sideswiped by somebody who's made a value judgment on you, and they bring it to your attention. That's the other thing that I did talk to Nancy about this, and I wanted to make this point. When you expect or demand someone to change, you have in essence in that moment judged. And I don't know if people realize that. It's one thing
because you're wanting them to change from where they are to where you think they should be.
Exactly right. And it's one thing, you can think whatever you want. We all have freedom of thought. At least I hope we still do. But one of the key issues that I'm going to bring up today, I'm going to be a Nancy today over here, is the fact
that you just be the best you can be.
I will. That's right. I'm going to bring up judgment as it relates to the year of the pandemic. For some reason, this country set out a message that allowed people to think, because of their fear, that they had the right to voice how they believed other people should walk the walk of the pandemic. And that, my friends, is judgment. There's no good reason, there's no reason that's of value when you purposely set out to let someone else know how you think and feel they should act and behave. That is judgment. And no pandemic gives you permission to do that. But unfortunately, Nancy, in this country last year, the message was out there. It was out there via social media on a 24/7 basis, which was somewhat interpreted by people that they had the right to cross boundaries that we've never crossed before when it came to health. That we had the right to go to someone else, and because they weren't practicing what we thought they should practice in protocols, that we could make the judgment and put them in their place and let them know that there was wrongdoing. That, my friends, is called judgment. We don't have the right to do that. I don't have the right to do that. All I have the right to do is to walk that path with reference to the pandemic and my health, take personal responsibility for my health, because when I do that, I, in essence, do right by those that are around me. But that isn't what everybody did. There's a lot of judgment out there coming off of last year.
All right, and I'm going to go like,
okay.
Whoop, 5,000 mile view downward.
Go ahead.
The point of all of that, this is my opinion only, everybody out there, the end goal is division.
Exactly right. And distrust
the
of each
end
other.
goal is division.
Yes.
Focus on us versus them,
yes.
whatever, black and white, whatever. And I think a lot of us who have been around for a while understand that for the most part, the world is mostly gray.
Right.
There's not a whole... There are some things, I believe, that are very much black and white. But from the standpoint of, if you can divide people or pit them against each other
through judgment, that's what this is about.
And then again, and if I can get you to believe what I believe, then that validates my belief, because that makes me right, because you're coming, whatever.
And if you don't believe what I believe, then I've judged you.
Right. But again, even as a bigger thing, it's about keeping people separated based on differences, rather than uniting people together in the things that we have that are similar.
Yeah.
Because, God knows if those, I don't know if you've ever seen the beginning of, I think it's ants. If those puny ants ever realize how much power they have and they stand up, if one stands up, they all stand up, whatever, I don't know. But, there's a bigger game plan in all of this, or purpose behind all of it, which is to create this fear among all of us, or ability to judge, to keep us in that separated place. And that goes back to, if you look at all of the things we've covered so far,
automatic
what
pilot.
are you afraid of? What do you allow to distract you?
Right, automatic pilot.
What are you grieving? And here we are, again, who's got your power? Whomever you're allowing to judge you, that's impacting you, you gave your power to them.
Exactly right.
And whoever you're doing that to, you're hoping that they're going to give you their power. When in actuality, again, taking that deep breath, getting to that place, why do I believe what I believe, and why am I letting whatever circumstance impact me the way it is? It's that self-awareness. It's taking that moment, step off the hamster wheel. Don't be an automatic pilot just reacting. I talk about with my kids all the time that there are people, or we can make the choice to play life like a game of dodgeball. I don't know how many of you loved dodgeball, played dodgeball, got nailed in the face with the dodgeball as a kid, whatever. What is dodgeball? Things are getting thrown at you, and you're trying to stay out of the way, or get enough underneath it that if you can catch that person's out. You took control of the ball, the person that threw it is out. That's our objective, is to become that person who catches the ball, has the control of the ball, and knocks the other person out of the game, their viewpoints out of the game, their power out of the game, you know. That has been probably the most valuable tool that I've learned, is to really stop, take that deep breath, and go to that place of says who. Who am I allowing to judge me? Go to the source. You know, the person that I'm letting get to me because of their viewpoint is somebody that I wouldn't sit down and have a cup of coffee with, or they're not a close friend who has earned.
But sometimes they are close friends, and it needs to be addressed. Sometimes they're close friends, sometimes they're family, and that's where the difficulty lies. What Nancy's talking about, when it's somebody that
anonymous people or people that'll just whatever.
That I have, lost my bracelet. When they're people that I don't know well, it's much easier to slough that judgment off and say, well, I'm disregarding this. But let's talk about that. What about when it hits close to home? And again, I'm going to go back to the subject no one wants to talk about. The pandemic caused a lot of judgment last year, and it hit home. It went into
shattered families.
It went into the cores of our families. So I think, you know, one of the things I also want to talk about is I want to talk about self-awareness as it relates to how we don't judge. And Nancy, I'm going to ask you first, and then I'm going to go ahead and give my take on how I try not to judge. But what do you do? What do you practice through self-awareness that helps you not be a critical judge to the point that you feel you have a right to cram your opinion down someone else's throat? Now, her outspoken attitude, don't confuse that with judgment. She has a right to have her own thoughts. She has a right to express her own thoughts. Where the line is crossed is if Nancy was to turn to me and say, well, Diane, I think you, and remember something, when you speak,
if I were you,
when you use the word you in essence are placing judgment. When you speak of yourself and say, well, this is the way I view something, you're not imposing judgment. So what are some of the things that you do that would keep you from being judgmental when you're self-aware?
Well, first of all, like I said, I've never judged anyone on the... No, I'm just kidding.
Truth or dare?
I am going to share with you a life-changing moment that I had that has changed radically my whole viewpoint about, oh my gosh, I need a drum for a drum roll or something here.
You do that because I need to turn these lights off because they're too hot.
I had this like life-changing epiphany. Thanks, Brene Brown, for your daring greatly, because your story changed my life. Oh my God. I grabbed onto the belief that everyone is doing the best they can. Everyone is doing the best they can.
Great point.
Is it the best I think they can? Maybe not. Because, you know, if everybody just did what I said, well, we'd all be... No. But you know what I'm saying? Wherever someone else is in their own personal journey is unique to them. We're all under construction. I'm in my own place, and because I know that I'm doing the best I can where I am in my journey, and I can give myself that grace and that gentleness, I in turn am much more able to give that to someone else as well. So the first thought I have a lot of times if someone's coming at me with an opinion, with the whatever, is what is this accomplishing for them? Are they feeling insecure right now where they might be looking for reinforcement for themselves? This is not about me. This is about them and where they are in their journey. Because I believe they're doing the best they can, because I know I'm doing the best that I can. That's another tool I think that I would put in the toolbox.
It's a strong tool. It's a tool that...
It takes a while.
I agree with it.
And it doesn't mean I don't get pissed off sometimes.
Exactly
and,
right.
You know, say,
exactly
step
right.
off and step. Who the hell are you?
Right. But it's a good... And again, we're about not just talking, you know, candidly about these topics. We're about trying to give you some really good tools on how to actually deal with judgment. I like that approach. I have lived with that approach in my life. I think what I'm going to bring to the table equally for me, because of where I'm at in my life, is I have tried in my life when it comes to judgment, the one thing that I always remember is my goal in life is not to change someone. Now, because I am an outspoken, very strong woman, a lot of times people misinterpret that strength and that outspokenness as I expect them to change.
Do they judge you?
Well, there's a judgment right there.
Right?
Hello, there's a judgment.
Exactly.
Now, I'm telling you, and I'm telling you my personal truth, I don't desire to change people, and here's why. Because I do not desire to have people try to change me. I have lived lived most of my life from an empathetic place. Most of my adult life from an empathetic place. Usually what I do, the first thing I do is I'm very level-headed when someone comes at me, and I try to say, okay, there are reasons, like Nancy says, they're on their journey. But I will tell you this, I'm human, and this, doing this channel and trusting in Nancy to be transparent and real is a new journey for me. It's a new journey for me, and things
don't happen by accident.
There you go. But I'm going to be honest with you. I've struggled myself in this last year with the not being able to let go of the harsh judgments that I felt come my way through the pandemic. I have struggled with that. It's painful to feel people's judgment, and a lot of times they're silent when they do it. That's the other thing about judgment. It doesn't always come right at you. A lot of times what it is it's silent, and it's from way back here. So what happens is you're disconnected through judgment. And a lot of times it's not something someone will say to you. It's something they don't say, and the lack of connection you have with them. That can be judgment as well. And I think that, and what that causes, and I'll tell you this for those of you that feel vulnerable to it, is I have felt it's a deep sense of hurt. Now, maybe that's where I'm at in my place right now, because I'm dealing with grief on top of, like you said, the grief I had last year was on steroids.
Right.
Okay, it was amplified.
Yeah, we're all grieving loss with everything we've been through,
right,
universally. But then you throw in
personal loss. It's a mountain that is difficult. So does that make me probably a little bit more susceptible and a little bit more aware of what's coming at me in a negative judgment via pandemic or any other thing? Yes, it does.
Yeah.
But that's who I am, and all I would like to empower you to do is that, again, try to put yourself, as Nancy said, first of all, I always put myself in the other person's shoes. Now, if I do that and I continue to see that judgment coming at me, well, now I'm going to change. And basically what I'm going to do is, I don't want that person to think any different than they do. If they have a belief system, I'll honor that. But what I'll ask is that you stop from trying to get me to change my belief system.
And what if they say, I'm not going to stop because you're so whatever?
Well, and if they say that, that's where you have to step up. That's where you have to step up, and you have to say, I'm an individual. I'm an individual with rights. I don't really care what this country says right now. That's what you have to say. No, you cannot treat me that way. You cannot judge me.
I do not consent.
I do not consent to your judgment on what I think or how I feel. And that is something that I think got very, very thwarted in this last year, is that people felt empowered because of the relentless messages that were out there saying we're all in this together. Well, guess what? Here's a point for you to think about. When we truly are in something together, we don't use force to create togetherness. Force was used. Psychological force was used. Punitive damage was used. I'm here to tell you, the things I've done in my lifetime to be kind to someone had no basis of force to it. It came from deep down inside and my choosing and having the freedom to choose what I did. So don't confuse, again, the message wasn't clear last year, and a lot of people have believed that, wait a minute, I'm doing the right thing if I set someone else straight. No, you don't have the right to do that. Not when it comes to a person's choice on their health and what they do with that choice in their health. Nothing changes that, including a pandemic.
Okay, and I'm going to go back to the 5,000 mile above view. It wasn't about that.
I agree with you.
We are, as people, relationship driven.
Right, exactly.
Right? Group driven. We want to be part of something bigger than ourselves, etc.
Right.
And people do interesting things when they're living in a state of fear or uncertainty.
Right.
People in a state of fear and uncertainty are far more directable.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
that kind of thing. So I think that
fear is a controller.
I think that a lot of what you're talking about, Di, is what a lot of people are kind of realizing they're feeling as well. You know, this why did I that, and now this is different, or I don't understand this, or you know, et cetera, et cetera. But again, what we need to remember is that everyone is in a different place in their journey. Right. You know, they're all doing the best they can. They are, you know, they have the beliefs they have based on their own experience, or what they've been told, or who they are, or where they're at, or whatever it may be. The goal, I believe, and that's not to undermine where you're at and what you're feeling about all of this stuff, right?
Exactly.
But I think the ultimate goal is to get to that place where you are so 5,000 mile above viewing it that it doesn't even hit you. The slings and arrows don't even hit you because you're not even on the same plane, and so therefore it's not about you, and you're not giving that a second thought.
Energy. You're not giving
it a second thought.
You're operating from a higher level of understanding,
right.
And I agree with that.
Right. I think you're above. You're kind of hanging above it. You're hovering above it and not getting caught in the muck.
I think the takeaway, and I think that's what the takeaway of today is, what Nancy just said. I think the greatest takeaway from today, and it is easier said than done at any given point in time, but I think the takeaway is what Nancy's speaking of connects us. It reconnects us. Judgment separates us. It's simply put.
Right.
When you rise above, when you find a way not to get entangled in the judgment, which I'm here to tell you, under great duress and a lot of stress is very difficult to do. This is doing the work, people. I have to keep doing the work, so does Nancy.
We all do.
But the takeaway from her is that when you can operate from a greater sense of understanding and empathy, okay, you can in essence create an environment of connectedness again. Now we're not divided anymore. Right. But when you judge, and here's that difference, it's really clear. When you judge, you do not in essence create what you expect the result to be. So what your result is that you want that person to change. That does not bring you it doesn't connect you. It pushes you away from each other. Nancy's approach actually creates an environment where you might actually find common ground. Judgment, there is no common ground in judgment. That's, I guess, if you're looking for what
there
judgment
is, if you come around to my thinking, then we're united. Hey, if I can convince you to think like I do,
but that's false common ground.
Right.
That's not sustainable common ground, because that means that the next time there's a conflict, that's the approach that's going to be used.
I just had an aha moment.
Okay, what is your aha moment?
When I go back and I look at the history of this channel and what some of the things that we've already talked about, you know, what are you afraid of? Distraction, loss, etc., right? And now judgment. All of the things that we're becoming aware of and doing work around is about separation.
Exactly right.
Whether it's a separation from our own selves and our own power that we have,
right.
i.e., what are you afraid of? What's keeping you? How do you get out of your own way? Because you have everything you need already, and you're amazing and powerful and designed by, you know, in the image of God. But yet we've somehow lost that.
Right.
And so we spend the rest of our time trying to get back to that. Being distracted by things takes our mind off of that, keeps us separated from ourselves, keeps us separated from doing that work that's important. And then judgment. It keeps us separated from each other too. And there are people that will come along in your life that will be really, really good at helping you or supporting you through doing your work. Right? Unifying with that, like we're doing. You know, we push each other. We nudge, we support, we confirm, we all of that, right? Judgment keeps human beings separated from each other, so therefore you don't have that support, you don't have that confirmation, you don't have that feeling of I'm not alone in this, somebody else gets it. So everything that we're talking about is to keep us separated. Because you know what? When we're unified and when we're all together and we're focusing on all the things that are the same about us and not what's different, we're unstoppable.
We're powerful. And in essence, then we create through choice the true meaning of we're in something together. That's what the true meaning is. When you can create an environment where the best of people come out.
Well, you're coming from a place too of creating.
That's
of creating and not birthing something new, not trying to band together against some scary something or other 2 weeks,
don't know
a
what
year
it
ago,
is.
Whatever. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're instead of bonding together out of a place of fear against a common enemy, it's working together to go towards a common goal.
Exactly.
There's a difference in that.
That's a total difference.
So when you start to feel these things rise up in you, whether it's feeling judged by someone else or feeling the need to judge someone, stop. Stop yourself. Take a deep breath. Get yourself back into your body. Focus on what you can do, which the only person you have any control over is yourself.
Absolutely correct.
Remind yourself that everybody's doing the best they can. Right? It's not personal. We're going to have to do a talk about ego. Because I'm feeling like that's coming up a lot in this.
Yeah.
And we'd like to hear from you guys. What do you want us to talk about?
And on that note,
we know something about a lot of stuff, but so do you. So it would be great to kind of collaborate in what you'd like to see us cover on this. And it all, like what's so amazing about all of this stuff that I'm feeling is that it's like we're creating a, if I say Tinker Toy person, I just dated myself, I don't really give, whatever. That's Lego. Lego. We're putting together a Lego being.
And
these are all pieces that all are part of who we all are as human beings. And there's no, it's not good or bad, it simply is. And so much of that is just taking that time to get back into ourselves, be gentle with ourselves, understand ourselves, because I really believe that knowledge is power.
Well, that's that's on my website.
You know what I'm saying?
Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power, and to be able to understand, you know, and to give ourselves that credit of, you know, wow,
that was my moment.
This situation, I handled this differently than I would have before I saw that video, because something stuck out, and I took a deep breath before I ripped that person's face off and punched him in the throat. Yay! This is good.
It is good, and we want, and we really would appreciate some constructive comments if you have them on what you would like to see us do. We do want you to let us know how we're doing. I mean, remember something. This is as real and as human as it's flawed. Just like I have to say, if you heard a lot of background noise today, that's because where we're videoing at is in a room just outside of the interior of Cup of Joe. There's been a lot of people here today.
In Twin Lakes. Fabulous. I had a great grilled cheese today here.
And I had a turkey Havarti wrap, and it was superb.
So come up and see it.
But we had people out there today. So bottom line is
that was fascinating, because see this tea bag right here? She gave it to me.
That's right.
What?
We were out being connected and speaking.
She asked questions, and she told me her story, and I told her my story, and like all of a sudden it was like our souls met.
That's right.
And it was really cool.
So, yes, please let us know what you think. We really would appreciate it.
Like, share,
subscribe,
comment,
and one more time, I got to get my little thing here to get ready because I'm in.
Oh, I know.
We're going to tap into our bad.
Well,
I don't have. Let's tap into our.
We're going to toast into our badass.
Toast into our badasses, guys. We'll
you are amazing.
Yes, you are.
Way and have a great week.
You got it. See you soon. Bye.